So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So when this video goes up, we're just hours away from part 1 of the New Year Sugo Fest. So the hype is big, I'm personally super hyped, but I thought we'll ground things a bit anyway, talk about some more serious stuff, because I've been playing this game for nearly 3 years now, should be very soon, and this is like, of all batches we've got, I've never seen one with so many questionable wordings when it comes to the English translation of the units. Like, we've often had to double check with JP, there might be some small errors here and there, but now we're talking basically 4 new legends if you count Kaido and Yamato separate, and all of them have issues with the English wording. Most of the cases are not pure errors, but more like lack of clarity. And that lack of clarity opens up the user to insert their own mindset into what that means. Like, we in the more die-hard part of the community try and figure this out by ourselves. And by the time a news release, we have a pretty good idea how things works. But more casual people might just read and be like, oh, that sounds really strong, but it might not actually be what they mean. And sure, often that's their own fault for not properly understanding. But I think that the translations should go as far as possible to minimize this potential of misunderstanding how units works. So let's go through all the new legends one by one. I want to say that Roger is actually properly translated. Uta has like one small error. Boosts is written as B posts, which is mostly funny, I think. But yeah, let's focus on the actual new legends. Let's talk about Kaido and Yamato first. So I haven't really noticed tons of translation errors. And those are like pretty minor, like one letter wrong here and there. I know Reddit loves posts like these, but in general, they are not serious and don't even give like apologems or such. But no, we're mainly looking at confusing wordings or lack of context, stuff like that. One contentious unit has been Kaido versus Yamato. And I've obviously double-checked the JP translation since I do know Japanese. Not super fluently or good, but good enough most of the time. And people have been very confused on global how Kaido works. Because it says, after you use Kaido special, crew can only use 2 more specials. And this is like, okay, does it mean this turn? Or is it this stage? Can we use special next stage? Or is it the whole quest? Can we use any more specials this adventure? And JP is super clear about this. It's for the whole quest. So after you use Kaido special, you can't use anymore. And we also have the showcase videos from the JP Twitter, and it shows that Kaido special, when used, adds like a debuff to your own team that only lets you use 2 more specials. And it's unknown if that can be removed or not. Like by Shirahoshi and Manchu, for example, that needs to be tested. But yeah, that's a pretty big issue, I'd say, because some people might just think that this Kaido is like the most OP unit in the game. Like, you can use 2 specials this turn, use Kaido next turn, or I can use all my specials again, and I can just keep using them every turn. Kaido is so good. And then you pull him, and he turns out to be maybe a bit of a meme unit. Like, he's not the super boss killer you maybe imagined beforehand. But yeah, obviously not optimal with wordings like that. Yamato, the main issue with Yamato's wording is not really in the captain or anything, but it's also the special. And it's about the damage reduction effect applied on the crew. And like now, when I've seen how it works in game, basically you get like an icon very similar to the icon that changes orbs into another orb, like V1 Odin. And it basically says damage reduction is now attack boost. So basically, if you have a damage reduction, it remains unchanged, but then there's another buff applied that says that any damage reduction you have on the crew is an attack boost. But that's really unclear here. Like in my reaction to the new legends, I was just so confused because the way I imagine this special working from the wording is that we had the versus effect here. So the way I saw it is you use the versus special, you get a 60% damage reduction, then you use the special, and that 60% damage reduction is turned into some kind of attack boost that we thought was like conditional. But yeah, that's not obviously how it works. And I thought something was weird then because the rest of the special didn't make sense then because it says you can get a damage reduction. But I was like, you need a damage reduction in order to get the damage reduction boost. But yeah, basically the way it's supposed to work and make sense now is that if you run double Yamato, you use one Yamato special. This lets you use the other special. So you got both an attack boost and ore boost. And the first special gives you the damage reduction attack boost. And the second special will give you a higher damage reduction, 80%. And if you only use one Kaido, you have the versus effect instead, which is a lower damage reduction, but you still have access to one. Which is a very strong effect. And this is like the opposite, I think, because Yamato sounded a lot weaker at first, but it sounds a lot stronger now. And I also think that it should really be clarified that this is a stackable buff. You can stack it with all other buffs that exist in the game. And that's pretty huge info that is omitted. So, yeah. This is a positive change, at least, from what we expected. Let's continue with the next one, which is Robin. And again, we're back at this with lack of clarity. Like suddenly they bring up this stack and damage boosting effects. Nami has a similar issue. And I know that the term conditional attack boost is a community name. It's not an official name or anything. But it like damage boosting effect is not clear at all. What does that mean? Now we know. Most likely, it's not like 100% confirmed, but we feel pretty sure that what they're talking about is that you can stack conditional buffs. So death down conditional, delay conditional, poison conditional, like Nami has paralysis conditional, stuff like that. But it's not clear in the text. Like if you're introducing a new term, do like in the parentheses, just give some examples of what you're talking about. You can write, for example, death down conditional, delay conditional. Like if you just mention one or two of them, everybody will be like, oh, it works like that. Now it's like, what does this mean? But yeah, thankfully we have some clarity in it now, but there's a pretty big difference because the way you read it, you might imagine that it can be many different kind of damage boosting effects. What gives away a bit is the fact that then it says, cannot stack the damage boost of the same type. Because first it says you can stack different damage boosting effects. So then it's like, oh, you can stack 2 attack buffs. But then you read, not the same effect. And then you're like, so you can stack, but you can't stack. It's like very confusing until you realize, okay, so you can stack conditionals. So you can get the death down conditional from Robin and paralysis conditional from Nami. But yeah, it should really have been more clear in the text here. And I know that on JP they have a more clearer name for this kind of thing. And what really annoys me, we can talk about this right away with Nami, is the fact that now they introduced like an official name for conditionals with Robin, like damage boosting effects. But look at Nami's super tandem. Now they say damage up effects. Like if they kept a consistent wording, damage boost for Robin, now it's damage up for Nami, how should we know that they refer to the same thing? Now we know from JP that this refers to conditionals as well. So if you have Robin's death down conditional and Nami's paralysis conditional, and do the super tandem, both of those buffs only get a buff. But when you read this and it says damage up effects, then you're like, whoa, we get plus 0.5 attack boost, or boost, color affinity, maybe chain boost. Like, it's a big difference. Like, at first, this Nami sounded like the super OP, like, just adds so much extra damage to everything. Now she's still pretty good, but this is definitely neutered quite a bit. And yeah, I think this is the worst sin of all personally. Because sure, I can accept we introduce something new. We haven't really had a word for it before. Now it's called like this. Now you know it in the future. But the same term for Robin is not the same term for Nami. And they refer to the same thing. That's actually not okay. That's pretty shitty. Nami has another one that was pretty unclear. And this makes Nami better than we thought. Basically, we could see from the JP Twitter videos that when Nami removes paralysis, like we knew, she removed the paralysis and then reduces her own CD depending on the number of turns removed. So we thought like, okay, you get 5 turns of paralysis here, you remove it, Nami gets -5 CD. But no, that's not what they refer to. And this actually makes sense now when you think about it a bit, but it's not really clear in the text here. They could have easily done a parenthesis and clarified exactly how this works. But the way it works is, like we could see in the JP Twitter video, like in that video, all 6 units on the crew got 10 turns of paralysis. And the way it worked is that Nami took all the 10 turns, added them together, turns out to be 60 turns of paralysis total, and reduces her own CD by 60. And that's a huge difference. Like, paralysis is one of the most common debuffs in the game. And like stuff like 5 turns paralysis can be in like most content. And now suddenly that 5 turns paralysis gives Nami -30 CD basically. And we also now know that her special maxes out at like 55. So basically that means that 5 turn paralysis pushes Nami's buffs up about the like +2 chain mark, like she can go to 2.5 max, but with 5 turn paralysis she easily goes past 2.0 and above. And same for a base attack boost, it starts getting way about 2000. So yeah, this just makes Nami even better than we thought, and we already thought she was pretty good. So yeah, it's just a shame that literally every single new anniversary unit has an issue with the translation to English. And yeah, I don't think that's okay. Like, JP as a language has a different kind of clarity to it. Like, if you don't know Japanese has something called kanji, which means that the Japanese alphabet has like thousands of more letters than the English one, which might sound like a pain, but it actually makes wonders for clarity, because you can convey a lot more information in the text, and you're able to differentiate different terms very easily. While in English, it easily becomes that certain things have similar names, and it becomes very confusing since we only have letters to differentiate. We don't have any form of symbol or such like JP has. So I understand that they might have tried their best to directly translate from Japanese, but it might be that the English translation needs to add extra context to make it super clear. And like, even without context, we have just the bad case of Nami and Robin having the same type of conditional thing named differently. That's super bad. But yeah, I'm still super hyped for the anniversary, but I think we should highlight issues when they appear. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.